Community policing is today, it's the catch term that we hear about it only after we've got a big explosion, a riot, or some type of demonstration that's gotten out of control. You have massive property damage. Then you have a lot of chiefs that stand up and they throw out this catchphrase of what is community policing. Community policing is just one of the many styles of policing. You have problem-oriented policing, you have call-driven, you have reactive policing, and you have community policing. And basically, call-driven is you basically come out and you work the calls on the computer screen. That's your focus. You have a high call volume, you're just addressing calls. Problem-oriented policing is you're coming out, you're dealing with a specific problem that you're met with that day. You work that problem through. Reactive policing is just you're coming out and you're working your calls, but you're reacting to what you see. Now, those three versions of policing have no long-term positive results. There's no investment in the community. There's a temporary Band-Aid in problem-oriented policing with that one person you're dealing with. Now, community policing is, it encompasses all of those. It encompasses your crime prevention, crime suppression, neighborhood community groups, and everybody comes together to work. It's basically, it's an agreement between the citizens and the police, and they work together to solve community-related problems that bring forth a better quality of life. Now, the other types of policing don't address quality of life. Community policing does focus on quality of life because it covers all aspects of it, and it absorbs, the school district has to be involved in it. City agencies outside of the police have to become involved in it. And community policing basically is an officer is assigned to a geographic area. For instance, when I did it, I had a geographic area that I was assigned to. And it was a high crime area, and there was a lot of distrust between the police and the community. And you go in and you basically have your perception of what the police department sees the problems are. And typically police departments will say your problem in your neighborhood is drugs and gangs and random shootings, and they name the things that are a high priority for the police department. And oftentimes we're finding out that when we go talk to the citizens, what we think is number one, these people live there. They know, yeah, I kind of deal with the drug dealers, I see them every day, but this loud music out in front of my house, or these prostitutes walking up and down the street. So what you do is you meet with them and you say, hey, let's do a trade-off. What we're gonna do, I recognize that you live there. I'm seeing the gangs are the biggest problem. You're telling me that the loud music is. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna work on your number one together. And then you're gonna trade off and help me with our number one. And in the process of doing that, that's just addressing the crime aspect. But community policing, when you're talking quality of life, you have to go into these neighborhoods and change the way the person sees their neighborhood, the environment. If you just take crime and sit it over here for a minute, the first step, you go into these neighborhoods and you set up with the city, you organize. And you bring in big roll-offs, your big trash dumpsters. You meet with the neighbors, you tell them what you want to do. You all plan, you pick maybe 2 or 3 blocks as your starting point within a large geographic area. Everybody comes out. You go through, you collect all the trash and in the alleys, and everybody works together, and you get it in the dumpster. Separate your metals out, because as you go to individual houses, if the people separate their metals, they can take their metals to the recycling center, and they get paid for it. When you have elderly people and they can't do it, if you've got a church in that area, guess what? The church sends people, they pitch in. They go in, help clean the lady's garage out, clean her trash out the same day we're all doing this as a neighborhood. And then they take her stuff down to the recycling center. The church can keep 10%, give God his part. And now this lady has money to do something else. You get Home Depot, Lowe's, you can get local lawn and garden people to come in and teach a class. A lot of people don't know how to grow a lawn. They just think grass just grows and it stays there. And that's cosmetic, but it's important, because you won't see drug dealers and prostitutes and drunks standing on manicured lawns. It's just natural instinct to go around them. So what you're doing, you're actually hurting them. Around, you're raising the property value. They come in, they teach a 3-hour class. This is how you grow a lawn. This is how you maintain it. We leave the class, we go out. In that 2 blocks, we till up everybody's lawn right there that day. Everybody plants their grass seed. Everybody's on a schedule. You water your grass this day, this day, this day. Everybody's gonna cut their grass this day. You got a month later, these people are seeing grass where they seen dirt. You know, you've already gotten rid of the junk cars. You've got the alleys cleaned up. You know, now they've got a lawn. Their houses aren't junky anymore. They've made money off separating. So they're starting to buy into trusting this whole thing. Your criminals are laying over here trying to figure out what's going on. Because I have a plan that I use, which I call the roaches, the mice, and the rats. And it basically says that in your neighborhood, if you have roaches, mice, and rats, it's because of the way you live. You can't blame your neighbor for it. It's the way you live. So we have to change the way you live. And when I kind of came up with this formula, how I saw it were the roaches, if you got a roach in your house, he's not going to hurt you. He's going to embarrass you when company comes over. And the roach represents people like the neighborhood wino, the prostitutes. These people are not immediate threat to you, but it's real embarrassing when you've got company and here comes the local prostitute down the street or the wino and things like that. So once you ignore these nuisance people or these roaches, well, the next thing you get are mice. And when you get a mouse in your house, you're never going to see the mouse, but you'll see its mess. And these are the people, these are your criminals that are your car burglars, your house burglars, graffiti artists, people who do criminal mischief. You never see them, but you see the results of their mess. And the third are the rats. Now, keep in mind, not only does this analogy go for criminals, but it also goes for taking care of your house, because of course you don't want these things in your house. So if you liken them to criminals, when you're addressing your environment in your house and in your neighborhood, it's going to deter the human representations of these rodents and bugs. But what the rats represent, now a rat will fight you back. They're aggressive. They'll gnaw their way into your house. They use the existing beams in the house to navigate to different parts of your house. The rats represent your violent offenders, your gangbangers, your sex offenders, your violent criminals. These are people who've been through, if you say that the legal system, for example, is your house, and the beams are the laws within the legal system. These people have been through the system. So what they do is they use their previous experience, be it the beams, to navigate through the legal system. So as you start addressing, your roaches, which are your nuisance criminals in the street, when you get your property value picked up and you shape your yard, it's going to drive some of that away, just like it would if you spray your house, for instance. And this analogy I like because I represent, or the police officer, the community officer, he's like the exterminator. He's coming in and he's going to exterminate. He's going to show you how to and help you change the way you live and so you don't have these bugs and these rodents. But you have to make the effort. He's going to spray and he's going to do all these things. He's going to leave, but you've got to do the upkeep. Because if you don't do the upkeep, then you're going to get these things back, and then they're going to become more resistant, if that makes any sense. And then what community policing does is you're empowering citizens because you're walking them through not just crime problems. They may say, well, we want to get our park fixed, and the city says they don't have any money. Okay, well, let's go community development block grants. It's federal money. You can go through your local college, and you can get somebody to help them write the grant. City comes on board and kind of gives them guidance and counseling, and this is a neighborhood association that you do it through that's established and chartered through the city, and you can get federal money to fix up your park. It doesn't cost the city anything. You're working with the city to organize this, to get it done. You're working with the police department. They're working with the citizens so that network of trust is being built, and people are understanding everything that comes into it. Now, as far as for the community, there are no downfalls to community policing. There's none. Even if you halfway do it, you're going to gain. You can't lose doing community policing. But for the officers, it's very time consuming. For cities, it's expensive because there's a lot of overtime, there's a lot of meetings. You can't really budget time when you're helping people. You're really there till you meet the goal for that day. But a lot of cities say the investment is very steep. We don't want to raise taxes. Well, the flip side of it is when you've got a riot and you've got chaos in the street and you're paying 100 officers, overtime, counting, if you look at the Ferguson situation, you pay that many officers to come in overtime, that's a whole lot. Counting businesses that won't come to your city anymore, jobs that have been lost, storefronts burned down. You're going to be 5 or 10 years in a hole for revenue and your tax base because nobody wants to come there and do business. Then on top of all that, you're paying a $4 or $5 million settlement from somewhere. So when we add up all of that, there's your community policing right there. Community policing is very, they like to throw it out as the buzzword, but the officer becomes very empowered because the citizens grow real close to that officer and they trust him. or her, and they'll tell a chief or a sergeant, I want to hear from Officer so-and-so. They know what's going on, and policing is political and the administrative part. And so a lot of people's feelings tend to get hurt with it, but I would suggest to a lot of people, if you want to know, first off, go to your police department and ask, what style of policing does our department do? And community policing has to be department-wide. Officers, civilians, detectives, it can't be 5 officers in patrol doing it. That's not community policing, that's a crime prevention unit. It's an all or nothing concept. Ask, go to your departments and ask, what type of policing do we do? Or what philosophy of policing do we do? And you may find out that there is no dedicated style. You got officers out there doing their own thing. They don't know what community policing is or problem-oriented policing. They're just working calls. And if they don't know what they're doing, and if they're not on one accord, that's why you're generating so many complaints. So community policing, go find out what style. If your department doesn't know, then research it on your own. Go on the internet. What is community policing? Gather your facts. Go to your city council and say, hey, have you guys seen this on community policing? Maybe it will work here. Our neighborhood would like to have it. Can you do a study cost on it? And make these politicians research it. Make these police chiefs research it, because a lot of officers don't know what community policing is, and a lot of police chiefs don't. It's just a buzzword, but it's more than that. It's the answer to a lot of these problems that we're having out here today.